All right, welcome everyone to a new tutorial for Adobe Animate. I am going to kind of take you through creating a pretty straightforward uh, little cartoon scene that kind of puts together some of the skills that we learned. So you can kind of put it to, so far we've just been kind of playing around with shapes and whatnot, and now you can kind of start to put things together to actually create a little scene. Okay, so a few things before we start. You can actually, you'll see I'm going to draw everything from scratch, and it's going to probably look pretty terrible, but I'm just going to go through things. I'll go through the drawing part of it fairly quick to try to get to the actual motion part where we're actually going to put into practice what we've learned. So my drawing is going to be pretty rough and pretty quick. But I just did want to give you guys a heads up that you can actually find images online and insert them into Adobe Animate and use that potentially as like some of your background images. Or you'll see I'm going to do just quickly draw like a little car. You could insert or import a car if you go to File, Import, okay, and you go to Import to Stage. You can import images as well. So that's something that you can do. And you can, just like how when you draw something, you're able to create motion, it's the same thing when you import an image. You can import an image and create motion as well. But I mean, I'd say for this particular task, let's have some fun with it and let's try to draw things ourselves. All right, so, just try to have some fun. And sometimes what looks pretty bad could end up being, pretty funny and good little cartoon. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a little background, just like with what looks like a street, some grass, maybe some buildings, and I'm gonna do a car that goes through the screen here horizontally on the road. Maybe I'll draw a sun, and I'll have the sun kind of fading in and out, almost like shining. Showing that it's shining sort of thing. Maybe then with some cloud movement as well, I'll draw some clouds. Okay, and then, I mean, I could keep adding to it. I could add in and draw in a person, maybe that's waving to the car as it's driving by sort of thing. But, I'm probably not going to get to that because I don't want this video to be too long. So let's get to drawing my background. All right, so first thing is I'm going to double click on my layer here and type background. Okay, and next what I'm going to do is actually zoom out a little bit because I like to see the black part of my screen here all the way around, not just on the sides. So I'm actually going to just go down to, I don't know, 60%. See where that takes me. Okay, that's not bad. Maybe a little bit less. Okay, something like this. And if I need to zoom in, I'll zoom in accordingly. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is create, you can see that by default I'm on this dock page, okay, this dock tab, where I have some different settings here that I can play with, but I want to change the stage color. I am outside, so I'm going to change it to a light blue here for the sky, I guess. And I'm now going to go ahead and draw just a little patch of grass and some road, okay? So I'm just going to go to the rectangle tool, okay, and draw a little bit of grass. Now, you can go beyond the stage because remember, when you actually export your Shockwave file, it's only going to show the stage. It's not going to show what's here, right? So one thing is if I'm going to select the rectangle tool right off the bat, just make it easy on yourself. You could change the fill. If you happen to draw it white, okay, if you happen to draw it white and what you really wanted was green, okay, all you really need to do is go to the paint bucket tool and change the fill to a nice green that resembles some grass. Okay, something, no, I don't like that color, a little bit brighter. Okay, not bad. Now, again, you're not going to see this extra part that's off the stage. That is not going to be part of your Shockwave file. Okay, next. let's draw the road. So I'm going to draw another rectangle. This time I know I'm going to make it gray. So I'm just going to make it attached there. You can see it snapped to that corner there to attach. And this time I'm going to go to the paint bucket, fill, and I'm going to look for a gray color. I'm going to just choose one of these. This one looks good right there. Oh, I suppose because I snapped it to there, let's actually, now it's already on that gray color. Okay, there you go. And next what I'm going to do is draw maybe just some yellow lines or white lines to kind of show the divide in the road. So I'll do that next. I'm just going to use my paintbrush here, my fluid brush tool, and make sure that my line here is a white. My size as a 9, I'm probably okay with that. And then just try to pick the middle here and start drawing a line. Okay. And again, I'm just going to go quick. I'm not going to focus on making those perfect. If I wanted to make it perfect, you know, having a pen and using a tablet actually comes in pretty big handy here. Whereas I'm just using a trackpad or a mouse pad here, or sorry, a trackpad on a laptop. Okay. I'm not going to draw the car yet because again, this is just my background here. And I'm just going to draw some buildings maybe over here. Now, I'm actually not going to do the buildings just yet. I want the buildings on a separate layer because I want to be able to bring the clouds that I'm going to eventually draw. I want to bring them behind the buildings. Like I want them to kind of pass behind the buildings and not be in front of the buildings. So if I put the buildings in my background layer, then if it's my background, then I can't help but have the clouds pass over top of the buildings, and I don't want that. So I'm actually going to keep this as is, okay? And so what you're going to do now, I'm going to make this, let's see, just scroll over here. Let's make this 120, so 5 seconds. Sure, 120 frames. So I'm going to click here, okay? Make that a keyframe, and there you go. And then always go back to the beginning. When you're about to start a new layer, always bring your timeline back to the beginning. All right, because you don't want to end up drawing something and it's at the very end. Then you'll have to cut and paste it into the beginning anyways. So just bring your timeline to the beginning, and then go ahead and lock this background layer so no changes can be ever made to that. Okay, so I just locked it there. All right. Let's go ahead and we may as well draw the buildings now really quick. I'm just going to do them very basic. And I'm going to choose maybe a slightly brownish color. Okay, I know that maybe doesn't look the most realistic necessarily. Okay, and maybe for the next building, I'll choose slightly different color, maybe like a very light gray. Actually, the road is gray, so let's go with something a little bit different. Sure. Okay, why not? And then maybe I'll draw one more potentially. Okay. And then if you want, like another thing that you can do is draw some windows, right? So draw some windows, and I'll draw some quick windows here. And I'll just do them white. But I mean, you can end up picking any color that you want. Okay, and you know, remember, there's going to be no movement here with these. And again, I'm just trying to go fast because I don't want this video to go too long. Okay. Doesn't matter. Okay, again, I'm just trying to go fairly quickly here, okay? Okay. So next what I'll do is I'll actually draw my car. All right. Now this layer here, I don't really need to do much with it. That layer is just always going to stay as is. We can go over to the end here as well, and maybe we can insert a keyframe and then lock this layer as well, because this really is really a part of my background layer, but I just wanted to make it as a separate layer because I want to pass the clouds in behind it. So I'm actually going to slip the clouds layer in between background and layer 2, and actually let's call this buildings. Okay, so really quick, I just set the little stage here, and let's go ahead and draw a car. Okay, and for this, I'd probably zoom in into the bottom left corner here quite a bit, maybe even up to 100%, and scroll over. Okay, maybe even more. $150. Scroll. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. And if you have a pen on a tablet, life is a little bit easier for you. But I'm just going to select the pencil tool. Oh, and I forgot to make a new layer. My bad. And notice how it's not letting me draw there because I've locked the layer, right? So let's make a new layer. Okay, we're going to call it the car. And I'm going to draw it. Make sure that your timeline is back at the beginning, so you draw it from the beginning. All right, so I'm just going to go fast here. Okay, you can see that, and you can go back and choose the arrow tool. And if this isn't kind of what you wanted to draw, you can go back and just delete on your keyboard, select it and delete it. Okay, now I'm going too close to the edge of my stage. I just realized that. So let's go back and let's start it maybe over here. Just gonna delete that there. Actually, I don't like this part either. Okay, and you can see that it kind of wants to snap to some straight lines here, which can be a little bit frustrating. Okay, that looks a little bit better. And so just go ahead and like try to correct it until it goes into the shape you want. That looks a little bit better. And again, you can spend more time to perfect it. Then just go back to your selection tool and just delete these other lines that were made. Okay. Okay, just go around and delete. Okay, this looks like an awful car, by the way, but it's okay. It doesn't look like a car at all. Almost like a Volkswagen Beetle. It's not the point. I just want to get through this portion quickly. I'll just quickly draw some windows. And you can see the software is pretty smart. It actually does a pretty good job of like connecting lines and curves and, you know, trying to figure out what you're trying to draw. It actually does a decent job of that. Okay. Looks like there's an extra line in there. Okay. So as long as you closed off the shapes, you should be able to color this in, right? I don't really like this. I don't like that. Oops. Okay, sure. Let's go with that. All right, so at this point now, I'm just gonna color in my car. So I'm gonna choose the paint bucket tool, and maybe I'll do it like a red color. Okay. Okay, color that in. And then my windows, I might do a white color. Okay, so you've got now your, or maybe we'll do like a tint sort of. So let's pick a different color for that. Okay, something along those lines. Okay, so I'm not going to do the wheels yet because the wheels are actually going to, I'm going to put those on a separate layer. So I'm just going to have the body of the car. So I'm actually going to relabel this as car underscore body. You have to put an underscore between words here or else it'll give you an error. You can't put just a space. Okay? All right, so I'm not going to put the wheels in yet. You'll see they're going to go on a separate layer because they're going to kind of move separately. So let's go back to fit in window and let's put in our motion. And again, you're going to do hopefully a much better job of drawing something. I'm just trying to go quick here to not make this video too long. So I'm going to slide my timeline down to 120 frames, which is the end of my cartoon. And then I'm going to, actually before we even do that, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's actually select our car. Okay, right click and convert to symbol. Okay, convert to symbol. And make sure you have graphic selected here. Graphic, and we'll call it car body. All right, see now it turns into a full image that I can move. The windows won't move separately from the rest of the body. It'll all move together. So now when I slide this down to 120 frames, I'm going to insert a keyframe, okay? And then I'm going to drag where I want my car to be by the end. And maybe you want it completely off the stage, right? That's possible. You might want it completely off the stage. All right, okay, so that's at 120 frames, it's gonna be there. But as of now, it's going to go from this spot, and then once it hits 120 frames, it's going to get there. You want to apply a classic tween, so I'm going to right-click inside my frames here, inside, and go to Create Classic Tween. And now it's actually going to show it moving across if I play that. Now, I don't like the motion of that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that motion, and to do so I'm just going to click in between my frames here, somewhere, anywhere in between those frames, the first and the last one, and you'll see that this frame window will pop up, and from there you're able, right now the effect of the movement is called a classic ease. Okay, you just did a tutorial on this. I'm going to change it to ease in. I like ones that don't start off so slowly, so this one's going to start off fairly slow. Cubic starts off even slower. You can see it's even less steep. Even slower. So I'm going to go with quad. I'm going to double click quad. All right, let's see how that looks. Start it again. Starts off slow. See, even that is starting off a little bit too slow for my liking. So what I'm going to actually do is you can see there's the effect that I chose, quad ease in. Press the edit button, and you can actually click and drag, and you can see I'm making it less steep. You see that? I made it less steep. As I'm making it less steep, it's actually not going to start off so slowly. Okay? And then go to save and apply. And you can see now that's called My Ease 1. Because we just created a custom effect. It's called My Ease 1, right? It's right here. If you go under custom, My Ease 1. All right. So let's see now what that ends up looking like. It should start a little bit quicker, and it does. Okay? All right, so I've got my car body set up. Again, now let's go back to the beginning. So send your timeline back. Always remember to do that. Add a new frame. Let's call it wheel, rear wheel, because we're going to do the wheels separately. Okay. And again, try to zoom in. And I'll just draw a circle quickly for that. And my color is going to be, you know what, that's not a bad color. Now I can always move it into place in a second, right? I can just choose the selection tool, move it into place. Ooh, before we do that, double click it so it selects the stroke as well as the fill. Now move it into place. Okay. All right. And now what I'll do is I want to show this wheel spinning as we go, right? I want to show it spinning. So I'm actually going to draw like a little feature on the inside. I'll draw like a polygon on the inside. Just a small one. That is, I don't know, something visible. Let's go with something like that. Sorry, let's delete that. Again, let's just choose this from the beginning. So that'll be my fill. Do I want a stroke on it? No, I don't think I do. So to have no stroke, just choose that little red dashed line there. And now when I draw my, okay, there it is. Okay, double click it and move it. See, right now it wants to snap to a spot. Oops. Let's do this. Let's draw it outside. So see, it wants to snap into place, and you can turn off the snap. So you can turn off any sort of snapping. If you switch to the dock here, you can see that's the snap align. You can turn that off, snap to objects. So it's not always advantageous to have this checked off, okay? It's not always advantageous there. So now the next thing we want to do is actually select everything here. Oops. Sorry, I'm on the wrong layer there. My bad. Uh-oh. Okay, so everything is selected there. Okay, everything is selected. And if it's not selected, just double click the wheel and you can see it's selected at all. And let's right click and make it a symbol. Let's call it rear wheel graphic. Okay. Right, so now if I move this around, okay, it all comes together. Okay, perfect. All right, let's put let's do the overall motion, okay, first. So let's fit to window here, and let's bring this all the way to my 120th frame. And let's now insert a keyframe and then bring my wheel where you want it to be by the end. Okay, right there. Perfect. All right, but you can see the wheel's not joining there until 120. You need to bring your timeline in the middle here, somewhere in between your first and last keyframe. Right click, create classic tween. Now, it didn't line up because it automatically puts a classic ease. This needs to match the effect that we had for the car body. So we got to go to custom, and then we created my own. Remember, my ease 1. Double click it and press play. Okay, so now it's going to look like this. But I do want to show the wheel spinning, right? I want to show it spinning. So the next thing we're going to do is go back to the beginning on your timeline, zoom back into that wheel, okay? And I want you to double click your symbol. Double click your symbol. And then that actually takes you in where you can actually change or you can create a repeatable effect that will continue to repeat until your animation is finished. And so for me, it's a rotation. And so what we're going to do is let's go every 5 frames. So I double clicked and now I'm able to, so otherwise I would have to constantly show a rotation or constantly show some sort of movement if I was in my other timeline. But you can see they've disappeared. They've disappeared. We can go back by clicking on scene 1, but right now the only thing that's showing is this particular wheel, okay? And this is where I'm going to put that rotation. So that's an important thing to know, okay? Because the rotation is going to be something that's repeatable throughout. And so what I'm going to do is go to my 5th keyframe, and I'm going to insert a keyframe there, okay? And I'm going to scroll down here. Sorry, first click in the middle here. Sorry, my bad. You have to first create your classic tween, okay? Then it'll take you to this page where you see a rotation, and we're actually going to change that to a clockwise. From auto, we're going to go to clockwise, okay? And so now in 5 frames, we're going to have 1 full rotation. That sounds fine with me, okay? And if you want to do 10 frames, maybe we'll do 10 frames instead. Okay, let's go to 10 frames and do 1 full rotation. So I just undid everything. I'm going to insert a keyframe there. Okay, go to right click, create classic tween, hit OK. And now where it says, first off, let's not do a classic ease. Let's go back to my custom, my ease 1. And let's change the rotation to clockwise. 1 rotation in 10 frames. Okay? 1 rotation in 10 frames. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, there you go. You can see that it was rotating. So now, to go back to where all the rest of your layers are, just go click back onto scene 1. Okay, and you can see now if I press play, actually let's go to fit in window, press play, and you can see that there's this effect that the wheel's spinning. Now, you know, if you were doing this and I wanted to take more time, I would make sure that that pentagon there is centered properly. I would probably even draw a different design, like maybe some lines coming out of the pentagon, reaching the edges of the wheel. You know, something that might look a little bit nicer. But I am just trying to go quick here. Okay, so there's your rear wheel. I think that's ready to go. All right, let's do the front wheel. So I go back to the front of my timeline, click on new layer. Let's go with front wheel. Okay, and let's zoom in and let's draw our wheel. Okay, and that's not the right color, and I believe the right color was this one. Draw it anywhere. Okay. Let's move it into place. There you go. And let's now draw our little pentagon. And I'm just going to draw it in space here, right there. Okay. And then move that in. And notice I took the alignment off so I can now better, remember in the dock tab here, you can turn the alignment off. I can better center that now. Okay. And now double click. So it selects everything within that shape, that bounded shape. Right click, convert to symbol. So now it's just one graphic, and press OK. All right, let's zoom out, back to fit in window. Let's go to our 120th keyframe or frame to enter a keyframe. Okay, and now drag your wheel to the desired spot in the 120th frame. Okay, and then right click in the gray area, create classic tween. But we do not want classic ease. We want custom my ease 1. Okay, so now when we play it, you can see that the rear wheel is spinning, it's rotating, but the front is not. We're going to fix that, so I'm going to bring the timeline back. I'm going to double click on that wheel. And then the 10th frame, I'm going to click, insert keyframe, right click to create a classic tween. Change from classic ease to custom my ease 1. And then rotate clockwise 1 time. So that means in 10 frames, it'll do 1 full rotation. And there you have it. Okay. Click back onto scene 1 and press play. Okay, so I mean, you can make this more interesting. Maybe have like a person hanging out the window waving their hand, or, you know, I'll let you be creative there. But you can definitely add to, you know, be as creative as you want to make the scene. You do not have to do what I'm doing here by any stretch. You're going to do whatever you feel like doing, whatever your creative juices tell you to do. Okay? All right. Next, I can draw some clouds. Okay, I can draw a sun. Let's start with the sun. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer. Go back to the beginning in your timeline. Right there, right? Click a new layer, and let's start with the sun rays. Okay, so I'm going to do the sun rays, and I'm going to try to go quick here. Oops. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top right corner here. I'm going to draw just some, you can probably draw just some, oh, got to make them yellow. Maybe not size 9, but a little bit smaller. Okay, instead of maybe doing the brush, which you can do, totally you can do it. Maybe, oh, let's just do the brush. It's a little bit easier. Let's do the brush. Because you could draw like little triangular shapes as well. Okay, I'm just going to go quick here. Okay, and I'm now going to select all of those. Hold down Shift key because you're making multiple selections. and I want to create all of those as a symbol. Right click, convert to symbol. Because I'm gonna have those flashing in and out. Okay, I'm gonna have these flashing in and out. So what I'm gonna do is actually double click, because I want it to be repetitive. I don't want to continue to do flashing in and out all the way up to 120 frames. I only want to do it once, and I want it to repeat the whole 120 frames. So what I do is I double click in my symbol, so it only opens up that symbol layer, okay? And maybe every 10 frames, so I'm going to click here on the 10th frame, insert a keyframe, okay? And choose a color effect of alpha. And this is perfect. I want it to fade out, so that's a good amount, okay? That's a good amount. Perfect. So at the 10th frame, it's going to be this faded, but I want to create a tween so that it kind of transitions in the middle here to fading, right? See, you see that? So it transitions and it doesn't just suddenly in the 10th frame go to a faded state. It kind of does it slowly. And then by the 20th frame, okay, insert a keyframe, I want it to go back to full. So I'm going to take this slider of alpha, slide it to 100%, right click, create classic tween, and now you can see it's going to kind of go fade and then come back, okay? Because I double clicked in the symbol, I now do not have to repeat this over and over for the full 120 frames. I can click back on scene 1, okay, and you see it happens automatically. Look at that. And it keeps repeating automatically. So when I play this, you can see it does that. Now, instead of a classic tween or the classic ease, you know, maybe choose a different ease where it kind of goes a little bit more slowly, or maybe you want to do it like every 50 frames. I don't know. It's up to you. You play around with it. And now I'll create a separate layer. Okay. Separate layer plus, remember, go back to the beginning on your timeline, and this will be like the sun circle. So I'll just draw a circle here. That's the right color already. I didn't really choose a great color for the sun. It should be a brighter yellow, I'd say, and move it into position. Okay? Press play. Okay, you can see I probably shouldn't have done every 10 frames of it fading, maybe every 20 or 30, because it does seem to be like kind of popping in and out sort of quickly. Maybe I want it to go a little bit more slowly. But anyways, I'll let you play with whatever you think looks well. Notice I'm not creating any classic tweens in between because this is just staying as is, right? Just staying as is. And here, if we create a keyframe at the end here on the 120th frame, okay, we can even lock that layer because it's just the sun there, okay? And actually do one for this layer as well. Keyframe right there. Okay. Go back to the beginning. And again, no classic tween needed. Press play. Perfect. Okay. So one more thing. Let's just do some clouds really, really quick and easy. That's an easy part. So I am going to draw the clouds. Maybe I'll just draw one cloud, kind of hovering over the sun here. And so I'm going to create a new layer, double click, call it the cloud. Okay. And I'm going to use my fluid brush tool this time, and I want to do it obviously a white color. Okay. And then just kind of make sure you close the shape, because then you can use the paint bucket tool and color it in that white color. Okay? Now, you can obviously put multiple clouds, but I'm just trying to show you this quick, right? Okay, so now let's zoom out. Well, actually, double click your cloud, right click, convert to symbol. Anytime you want to move something, you want to convert it to symbol, okay? And call it cloud. There you have it. Let's go back to fit to window. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this cloud over. So I'm going to go down to the 120th frame. Okay. And I'm going to now move my cloud where I want it to go. By the end of my animation, I don't know, maybe it like goes up to here. Okay, something like that. Okay, now right click in the middle. Here you want to create a classic tween because you want it to actually move to that spot slowly. Okay, and actually looking in retrospect, I probably should have drawn the sun bigger, but that's okay. All right, so I created a classic tween, but maybe I don't like the classic ease. Let's see how this ends up looking. So let's play it. I probably want it to go even slower than that, the cloud, right? The cloud, I want it to go fairly slow. So I'm going to click in the middle here somewhere in between my first and last keyframe. And that takes me to here. So I'm going to change the classic ease. Instead of this linear movement, perhaps I can, let's see, ease in. Let's go with quad. Okay. But I'm going to edit it to just happen a little bit slower. So I'm going to click here, drag. Okay, something like that, sure. It's kind of glitching there. Okay, but you get the idea. You get the idea. You're going to create a background, okay? Oh, and actually my cloud layer, remember I said that I needed to bring it in behind the buildings. So I need to, let's make this a little bit bigger. Grab your cloud layer and just drag it underneath buildings, okay? So when you hit play, it should go in behind the buildings, but on top of that background layer. And there you go, it does, right? Perfect. Okay, so there you have it. At that point now, make sure you save your work periodically. Save to your H drive if you're on the virtual desktop. But also, once you're done, you want to export video/media, right? So that it creates a shockwave file that you can send me through D2L. Okay, so for this task, you're going to create a little cartoon scene. Follow the instructions from D2L on certain parameters that I'm looking for. You should have multiple animations, multiple movements, and you certainly do not have to create what I created. You can totally be creative and do whatever you desire. Okay, that's it for this tutorial. So this will be sort of your big final task for this unit.